No matter where you come from, we all face the same question. How do we survive and thrive in this changing world? Climate change, pollution, urban sprawl, these are global challenges. But on this show, we're focusing on the local solutions. Welcome to Eco Africa. I'm Chris Alems, coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. And here's my co-host, Malama Mukonde.
Hello everyone and greetings from Lusaka, Zambia. It's great to have you with us today. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Turning the trash tide. Gambians push back against illegal dumping. Recycling reimagined. 3D printing gives a second life to Senegal's plastic waste. And farming without soil. Somali women tackle the food crisis head-on. Temperatures are rising and rainfall is getting less predictable all over the world. In some places, changes are more extreme than others. We now go to Mauritania's capital to meet a group of students who are proving that with enough determination, even the most unforgiving land can bounce back to life.
The first harvest. A small miracle. Eggplants grown in the new garden at the Sepka II Secondary School in the Mauritanian capital Nouakchott. A few okra pods and even a single tomato. The students proudly post a video on TikTok. We are in a region with very salty ground because the sea is nearby. Nothing grows in sandy soil. We had to work the soil before we could plant anything. We added fertilizer and grasses to get minerals into the soil that vegetables need to thrive. Sandy, saline soil is not the only problem. It hardly ever rains here, and temperatures often exceed 40 degrees. 3 years ago, the NGO Biodiversité founded a green club at the school. Now, it has its own groundwater pump and hose. Otherwise, grass and vegetables wouldn't grow here. Green Club members water twice a day according to a strict schedule. Every evening, the students return to the school just before sunset to water the plants. Every evening, when I go back to school to water, I take someone from my family with me. It's not just that I want to show people all the lovely greenery. I also want to show them that it has a purpose, how nice and fresh the air is when we water the plants. The school is the only green oasis in the area. It's noticeably cooler in the schoolyard than in the neighboring streets. The students enjoy the fresh, pleasant air, and that's not the only perk of the garden. Awa Imbayegai picks leaves from the moringa tree, and back at home, she and her mother turn them into a delicious, healthy juice. An additional source of income for the family. When Awa told me that the NGO had planted moringa trees in the schoolyard, I asked her to pick their leaves so that I could make juice. People love this juice. They really do. Today, she's not off to sell the moringa juice, but to take it to school. The Green Club has been awarded a climate scholarship from the city, and there is a party taking place to celebrate. Even state television is here. Now, the school can grow more vegetables. The students who work in the garden, like Safia So, are given a certificate. This certificate means a lot to me. I've worked a lot for our garden, and we have seen how it changes the climate here at the school. In order to get ideas for the next phase of the project, Maimuna Salek, the president of the NGO Biodiversité, has invited a few members of the Green Club to a bird sanctuary and park on the outskirts of the capital. They get to explore nature and pick up some tips from gardener Musa Bari. Have some of your plants died? Yes, a lot's been destroyed by the wind. Yes, it's due to wind. But over there, behind the director's office, is a good spot. So we add fertilizer to the ground, and then we can plant the seedlings. It's down to method and above all, mentality. Maimouna Salek says there are no excuses. It's important to me to show people that things can grow anywhere. It's not about soil quality. It's a question of motivation and expertise. That expertise is fostered at the Agricultural Faculty of Roseau Technical University in the south of the country. There is also an active green club here. Safia So from Nouakchott has been invited by the institute to its open day. The students proudly show off their environmentally friendly solar heating system. A mirror furnace. A mini biogas plant fed with waste supplied by the Department of Animal Production. And their pride and joy, a compost plant. Everything is explained to Safia So in detail. This sort of compost would help the tomato plants in the school garden flourish, but she's not crazy about the earthworms. They're so creepy. In the afternoon, it's time for hands-on learning. The students are visiting the fields of one of the institute's graduates. They ask onion farmer Ahmed Kairat Indao all sorts of questions, eager to learn as much as possible so they can develop new ideas. You already have a suggestion for the farmer's irrigation system. The students proposed I use biogas. I keep goats and cows. They are there. I could use their waste to produce biogas. I didn't think of that. I'm familiar with biogas, but I hadn't thought of using it. Safia So gets the farmers' and students' phone numbers. She would like to study at the faculty after graduating from high school and would like to stay in touch. When I go back to Nouakchott, I'll tell the school about everything I've seen and experienced here. And if I need any more information, I can call the students in Roseau and ask them for advice, for example, about the worm compost process. I am so impressed by everything I've seen here. In the evening, the report on the school in Nouakchott is broadcast on state television. At last, recognition of the project. A few days later, Maimouna Salek receives inquiries from various ministries asking whether her NGO could launch green clubs in other schools. If the project at this school can serve as a model and other schools want to follow suit, if you can inspire people, then it will be a revolution. One school club alone isn't a revolution, but it's sowing the seeds for one.
When nature seems unforgiving, pulling together and sharing innovation can be key to survival. Nearly a quarter of the people in Somalia, that's more than 4 million people, do not have enough food to eat. Traditional farming just isn't holding up. With heat and drought, that's been magnified by climate change. But in the city of Baidoa, something unexpected is taking root with no soil and barely any water.
For these women in Somalia, working here is something very special. They planted everything themselves. And even though there's little water here in the region, spinach, chard and cucumbers are thriving in the hothouses.
These beautiful farms have changed our lives. We used to get tomatoes and spinach from the market and cook it at home. Now we grow vegetables like spinach ourselves. Our life has positively changed, and we have many benefits.
The women have learned how to cultivate vegetables without soil. They mix coconut fiber from coconut shells with some water and plant the seeds in it. SOS Children's Villages Somalia launched the project in Baidoa in 2022. Farming is very difficult in this largely arid country. Extreme weather events are making it even more difficult.
At
SOS, we thought of initiating a new method called hydroponic farming, which can cope with climate change. After the recurring droughts and floods, which forced people to evacuate their farms, we introduced hydroponic farming, which is quite new in Somalia.
The plants don't need much room to grow. In a single hothouse, there are hundreds of pots in the pipes that are filled with water. This water has been enriched with nutrients. Like hundreds of thousands in Somalia, Amina Hassan has fled the conflict and extreme weather events. The work in the greenhouse is crucial to her and her family. She lives with her family in a camp for internally displaced people on the edge of Baidoa.
I have 12 children. 2 of them died in the drought, but 10 survived. We spent one night in a town on our way to a village called Mado. The drought continued, and as we walked, we spent the night in different places. It was all due to a severe drought that had hit the country.
Training in hydroculture and hothouse cultivation is part of the program, which is open to locals and people who have fled from other parts of Somalia. Some 500 women and young people have taken part so far. They used to practice traditional arable farming.
We've been mostly teaching women this new method of farming. We also taught a few men. We mostly taught women because they're the backbone of the family and are mostly engaged in food preparation and income generation. That's why we decided to teach women about the hydroponic farming system.
Dotted around the city are 41 hothouses like this. Each one is managed by 10 to 15 women. They can harvest in all 4 seasons, producing enough food to cover their own needs and sell on the market. Together, they have a turnover of the equivalent of approximately 5,200 euros a year. Each woman earns some 43 euros a month. To help build the hothouses, the organization gets funding from Germany and Sweden. Each one costs 3,800 euros. The water pumps are solar-powered. The government plays an advisory role.
The project enables the production of quality, nutritious food within a short time. The introduction of cash crops through these initiatives not only feeds and benefits people, but also generates income for local communities. These efforts are essential in mitigating the adverse effects of climate change and ensuring the well-being and livelihood of the affected populations.
Some of the vegetable crops are later planted out in sand to anchor the crop. At first, many women were skeptical, but now they are convinced by the new approach.
We're asking the organization to expand greenhouse farming, so 3 to 5 people can share a greenhouse farm instead of 15. We expect the organization to increase the number of greenhouses, since we've learned and now understand this method.
The pilot project in Baidoa is a success story. SOS Children's Villages Somalia is planning to introduce hydroponics in other parts of the country.
Over in Europe, the heat might be less extreme, but in heavy built-up cities, it still takes a toll. We have long known that buildings and streets get much hotter than nearby parks. Yet even in one of Europe's greenest capitals, Berlin, residents are trying to figure out how to make it even greener and more livable.
This enchanting little garden is in fact an outdoor research laboratory set up at the request of the Berlin authorities The people who created it have been tasked with finding out which kinds of shrubs, grass plants and herbs are more sensitive to heat and water scarcity, and which ones insects particularly thrive on. Watering is kept to an absolute minimum.
We now have species that can adapt by conserving the water they have instead of letting it evaporate.
The team keep track of how the plants develop, which ones fare all right without any rain. Plants are coming under growing pressure in urban areas like Berlin.
We're likely to see more extreme events, a difference in rainfall distribution, more dry periods, and more heavy rainfall events. We'll see more heat in the cities, and late frost is an issue too. The new plants we add need to be able to withstand practically anything, while at the same time being easy to care for.
The test garden boasts 145 different plant varieties from Europe and North America that feel at home in Germany and are attractive for insects here. The team assess how the plants respond to the respective conditions. The soil is topped with a layer of gravel sand, limestone grit or bark mulch to test which material retains water best. An entire bed in this little patch of greenery has now been redesigned with plants from the test garden. The idea is for Berlin to have more drought-resistant plants that need less care.
We have vandalism here, plus dogs and other city animals walking all over the beds. Factors we have to incorporate.
For the researchers, real conditions in the city deliver insights into how the plants develop and how the beds can be properly maintained by residents. In this case, nature has been left to its own devices, a former railway station that's now become a wonderfully wild park. The last train here departed in 1952. Since then, the tracks and vacant buildings have become overgrown and repurposed by nature, creating a new home for a range of rare plants and animals. Most of the area is now a protected nature reserve, with paths running alongside the old rails.
Nature starts off small with the first mosses and lichens, and with grass plants with delicate little blossoms, and then the bigger plants that have time to grow here appear. We already have real forest areas. It's always exciting.
The entire grounds used to be a huge shunting yard, which looked like this 70 years ago. They've since been reclaimed by nature within just a few decades. Sometimes it's best to just let nature do its own thing, although sometimes a helping hand can be useful for adapting to changing conditions.
Wherever you live, you know, one of the biggest challenges we all face is plastic trash. But what if we could make it a valuable resource? In this week's Doing Your Bit, we meet a young innovator in Senegal who's working on a sustainable high-tech solution.
On his way to work, François Mbeng finds a valuable resource on the street. François manages a makerspace in Dakar, which is open to everyone and equipped with a 3D printer. The bottles he just found on the street can be used to print new objects. But first, they need to be flattened out evenly with hot air, so they can be cut in smaller strips. And this is where the magic happens. This is a machine that allows us to transform water bottles into plastic filament. So, filament is the plastic used in 3D printers. Once there's enough thread, the printing can start. And in less than 10 minutes, this alphabet stencil template is ready. Apart from educational tools, François also prints practical items. For urban gardener Abdou Touré, he made pots for his plant nursery. You can see the results here. I don't have to buy trays anymore. Sometimes the board trays are nice, but they break more easily in the heat of the sun or just after a few months of use. François loves to share his expertise with others. and shows a group of students more about the 3D printing with recycled bottles. It's a useful solution for eco-conscious DIY fans and makers. And François has big plans. My ambition is to have my own factory and to stop importing plastic objects from other countries. Often these are products that we use and then throw back into nature, polluting it a lot. So we have to recycle more and offer specific solutions in certain areas, specifically in health, education and agriculture.
Without proper waste management, when people don't have an effective way to get rid of their rubbish, things can quickly get out of hand. We have seen little piles of trash grow into small mountains. We head to Gambia now to see how a community is coming together to turn things around.
Dirty streets don't stand a chance when this crew is out. Zainu Koli organizes the weekend cleanups for the independent NGO Green Up Gambia. Here, the group of committed young volunteers is in Kanifing, Gambia's densely populated economic hub in Kombo province. But they know there is a lot more trash to collect elsewhere.
More than 500 tons of waste are collected daily in from Kombo, and that's only residential areas. Does not include the schools and the market. So roughly, if you add both the schools and the market and all the places together, the waste generated in this municipality alone can go roughly about 700 tons of waste.
While activist Usainu Koli raised civic awareness with clean streets, Gambia, like many other African countries, is struggling with an even bigger problem: people dumping their trash illegally in the environment. In 2018, Kanifing's Municipal Council finally decided to tackle the issue.
I came to realize that there are a lot of illegal dumps. And then we conducted as a council what we call Operation Clear the Illegal Dumps. We were able to clear 65 illegal dumps. These are major illegal dumps, and put in a signboard to deter people from dumping those areas.
Next, the council created a collection service for Kanifing's 19 wards. Residents pay the equivalent of 15 euro cents per sack of waste, and a bit more for a full garbage bin. Each Mbalit truck, which means waste in the Wolof language, cost 90,000 euros. The initial fleet of trucks was bought with the help of a private Gambian consortium. The investment has paid off. The regular collection service is changing the city in many ways.
Previously, our workload was centered around illegal dump clearing, but now that has significantly reduced because of that. So the environmental impact is already there. We have seen legal dump reduced, and then when we even started clearing the illegal dumps and the Mbalit trucks started coming, we've realized that the incidence of malaria have also reduced within the municipality, and then gradually the mindset of people started changing.
Every day, roughly 400 tons of waste are dumped here at Bakote landfill. It's the size of 25 football pitches and a toxic hazard for the residents living in surrounding communities. The council's attempts to close the dump and move to a safer, more modern facility away from the population centers have stalled. There is a solution for organic waste, at least. The council is participating in a zero waste project run by a local NGO. 3,000 kilos of organic waste are collected from markets every month and turned into useful compost. The organic waste compost is used on these vegetable fields in the women's garden. Hundreds of mainly women grow organic vegetables on this communal land in Bakau, both for themselves and to sell on. At Bakote, recycling is rare. So far, only plastic waste is sorted and sold on to companies who turn it into granulate. Scavengers can make a basic living, but less than from official recycling work. Changing such an informal system requires support from society as a whole.
Absolutely. It's goodbye from me too. I'm Malama Mukonde in Lusaka, Zambia. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check us out on our socials and write to us at echo@dw.com. For more inspiring stories, just search for Echo Africa online.
Thanks for watching this edition of Eco Africa. It's goodbye from me, Chris Alims in Nigeria. See you next time.